asked myself this question. If I had $10 million in cash in the bank right now, and I could just do whatever I wanted, keep the business, turn it off, work or not work, travel, not travel, what would I want to do with my day? There are questions that you can ask where people will close themselves. One of my favorite questions to ask is, why can't you just do this on your own? And then people say, well, if I could do it on my own, it'd be done already. People don't really understand it yet. People don't really see how powerful it is and how it can seriously change people's lives in a way that college, university and school can't.
Before we start this podcast, I have one little favor to ask you. Can you please hit the subscribe button down below so we can help more people every single week? Thank you.
Nice.
All right, man. Let's do this.
All right, let's do it.
All right, man. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you for this. Since we last spoke, man, the amount of help you've given me has been incredible. And I don't think you realize that sometimes though. You know, it's just for you, it's quite, these things just pop up and it's just, oh, here, do this, do that. But you've transformed my business in the past 4 or 5 months. You've grown it a lot indirectly and directly, pointing me in so much directions. And I just want to say a big thank you for that. And even with the new book today, there's been so many changes already. So it's been wild, man. How's the past couple 6 months been for you?
It's been good. Yeah. It's been fun, easy. So yeah, but no, that's really good to hear, man. The indirect sounds like you owe me some money as well. So talk about that. But
We'll do a rev share on it.
I'm only joking. But yeah, no, things have been good, man.
Yeah, man. The book is. What was the idea with the book, man? Because I know you've always thought about it, but you know who you remind me of? You remind me of a young Daniel Priestley.
Don't know how I feel about that. He's pretty far ahead, but well, no. Look, the book was actually a passion project, right? Because I've always loved books since I was very young. I've always loved books and magazines, graffiti magazines and books, and art magazines and books, music magazines and books, now business magazines and books as well, right? And I've always collected books and just loved the art of just making them, the cover design and all this cool stuff. So I selfishly always wanted to make a book, and I was just waiting for the right time when it was worth doing one, where I could really give away something substantial. And then after building and then selling the last company, it just felt like I've got enough to share now that's actually going to help people, And that's why I literally give everything away in it, was because when I sold the last company, I was done. I didn't want to specifically chase more money. I didn't want to build another big business, at least not for a while. So I just thought, well, it doesn't matter now. I can give it all away. It really doesn't matter because I've already got everything that I need. So if it helps me, then great. And if not, well, I've just fulfilled that kind of goal. Yeah. And obviously the whole thing with YouTube happened when the bloody channel blew up, and then I had to hire reps, and then it became more of a proper business in January. But yeah, the book was just a labor of love, and now it's a great asset to have.
I think the level of detail you go into the book is unknown. So just for context for people, firstly, for people to check it out, you have to check it out, number one. And I'll have all the links for it for you and everything, man. But nobody is sharing the level of detail that you have in it, in terms of you're literally giving people your actual scripts, which is, it may seem obvious, but it's if that's across your VSL, your landing page, your sales page, you're running your sales calls, your objections, it's literally holding nothing back. And I think that's what puts you in a category of one. And that's the reason why the YouTube blew up and the book is going to do well and the business has done well. And even the trading company, man. Because the way you look at it is oh yeah, we just kind of fell forward and then it was one thing, another thing. But it's not though. And the way you even explain how the trading company was built and your perspective on was it mechanical trading, however it was fucking described. It's I've seen the compounding effect for you, which is really cool because you got into this quite late compared to most people who try to get into this, super young, 21, 22. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, man. Okay. I want to get into the detail. Talk me through a bleeding neck problem.
A bleeding neck problem. Well, that's what you need to solve if you want to make good money, because there's loads of problems to solve. There's big problems, small problems for all these different kinds of people. So obviously it just makes kind of logical sense almost. The bigger, the worse problem that you solve is, the more you can charge. Dude, oh man, imagine if someone could invent a pill for any anxiety. and it just instantly gets rid of anxiety. My God, man, you could charge so much money for that, and it would be so easy to bloody sell if people believe that it worked, which is a whole other problem.
It's positioning though too, right?
Yeah, it's just solving a big problem, man. The bigger, the hairier the problem, the easier the whole business is, you know. And you can still make other businesses work, but yeah, and that's what trading was, because you know the people that really want and need it to work, they want and need a solution very badly, and if you can position it in the right way, then they're just in, you know.
True. I think it's how you position it too, though, to them. Like you give them that solution, right? Because yes, it's a problem. They've identified a problem, but you've been able to find a way to aggravate that problem. And I just interviewed Sabri Subi, you know, the marketer guy.
Yeah,
such an awesome dude, and we had a massive conversation around vitamins or painkillers, and the concept of like transitioning from a vitamin to a painkiller. And at the end of the day, like the way we settled on it was like a debate. He just said, you go after the bigger problem, you go after the pain problem, you create a painkiller. But at the end of the day, like you can almost spin the vitamin to be a painkiller if you can get into the core, which is like health, wealth, relationships, increase revenue, save time. So it's just an interesting way to do it, because there's a lot of guys selling trading products, but they're just positioned the wrong way. But you were able to break through.
Yeah, well, that comes down to unique mechanism. You know, that's the thing. And also doing one thing that's always served me well is doing the opposite of everybody else. You know, I'll give you like 2 examples. So example number 1, when I started the trading education company, everyone was talking about technical analysis and analyzing the charts and finding the patterns and stuff. So I just went, well, you don't need to do that. You can just literally follow a set of rules. And no one else was saying or doing that. So it cut through the market. Everyone was like, what on earth is that? Like, what is it? I've never heard of it. How does it work? So you had intrigue. You had a new mechanism as well. And just saying, dude, I remember everyone that found out about that was like, what is it? I've never heard of it. Like, how does it work? So you've got people from the minute that you say it before anything, which is really cool. So that's one thing. And then with the YouTube channel, you know, everyone was doing these mad edited videos, real edited graphic design thumbnails, all these fancy titles and shit. And I was like, fuck that. I'm just going to do the exact opposite. You know, fancy title, text message title. Fucking $1,000 graphic design thumbnail that took a week, no thumbnail. Planned out, scripted out, you know, no plan, no script.
The counter trend.
Just do the opposite, man. And then you cut through the market immediately. When you can do it, you can't always do it. But when you can do the exact opposite and get away with it, it almost always works. You know.
Interesting, because it's like if you were starting out and you're starting out in your journey on YouTube and you were putting up these really shitty videos with no thumbnails, people would say like, this guy has no idea what he's going on, what he's doing. But the fact that I think that like you knew that people were doing the super edited videos and you knew that people were shilling like technical analysis allowed you to come over the top. Like you have that awareness. Does that make sense? It was almost like you had that approach. Because like, did you have much resistance negatively? Because I guess that's what people fear of, right? They have an idea, business idea, starting an agency, helping people do X, Y, and Z, and then they hear the first bit of resistance and they shit their pants. Like, dude, I remember when I started my company, I was in Singapore and I was sending outreach to podcasters in Singapore. And I was telling them that I would save them time by managing their podcast. And I got back this huge hate mail from a guy being like, people don't want people to manage their podcast. They want to help them grow their podcast. And I remember I like shat myself at the time. It was like 2022. And then my partner said, like, there's a hint of truth in everything. And I took that advice and I went with it. Does that make sense? So for a lot of guys, they don't know when to disseminate between counter trend or am I just fucking this up?
You've got a point. Well, dude, I've always been a big believer in just go out and make a mess and then clean it up. And that's what you did. You kind of just put it out there and then learned from it and cleaned it up. That's what you've got to do, whether it's with business, with paid ads, right? I always describe paid ads as throwing darts at a dartboard, right? So whenever I start with ads, I'll make 10 or 15 or 20, run them all, and then 2 or 3 or 4 will work. Then you just put the other 16 in the bin, and you're good to go, right? So just make a mess, get it all out there, see what works, and then kind of work backwards and iterate. And that's what you do with everything. That's what you do with your copy, with your ads, with your offer. You know, this is why sales calls are so beneficial, because you can just test shit and speak to the people. And then if you get someone that's like, no, I don't want to buy this, you can say, well, why? You know, what could I put in there, or what could I do that would make you want to buy it? Just go and speak to the market and just test shit. YouTube is a good testing ground as well. Like, one thing that I've found is, for me, there's like 2 types of videos. There's a grow the channel video and book sales call video. But it's hard to do both. You know, so certain videos will get a lot of views but less sales calls. And some will get not many views but a load of sales calls. You know, but you only learn this from doing it.
What's the difference in the videos?
Well, the grow the channel videos are more stories and just more kind of, you know, like how I became a millionaire, or how I sold my business, or stuff like that. Whereas the ones that book sales calls are more like, right, here's a walkthrough of my funnel and how it works, or just more tactical stuff, but made in a wow, not how way.
Explain that. Actually, before you do that, this is going to piss off a lot of people. Because the content space is built on share everything.
No.
So let me walk through this concept for people. So for most people, and I fall into this category, which has probably shot me in the foot from a revenue perspective, for sure, is like the overshare, share everything, and then people will pay for implementation or whatever. That's a common knowledge, but your approach is different.
I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that, man. I think I love Alex Samozi.
Yeah.
I very much respect him, and I'd love to. He's got so much value to share, and he's just way ahead of me by quite far. But it's not good advice, man. Because here's the thing, right? If let's say we do a YouTube video and we really give quite a lot away, right? Well, someone is going to watch that, and they're going to go and try and do it on their own. But there's so much context they don't have. There's so much they don't know about it, because you can't share everything in one video. They've also got no coaching. They can't ask questions. A lot of those people will take what's there, try it and fail, and be like, that guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about, because that didn't work for me. But it doesn't work for you because that's one little thing there. You don't know this. You haven't been able to ask me questions. It's out of context. So if you give bits and bobs away, even if it is real, the tangible stuff, a lot of people are going to fail and they're going to blame you. It's not done right. So really, it's a disservice. This is why training programs exist. This is why coaching programs exist. Because that's where you get it all and you do it properly. You know, that's why they exist. Because, I mean, I guess you could put a training program on YouTube, right? You can do that. But even then, there's more to it, man.
Of course.
This is why people buy programs. This is why people buy the book and everything is in that book, but they still come for the coaching because there's more to it, man.
Well, at the end of the day, people want the accountability, right? People need the accountability. I asked you about the weight that you've lost and how fit you've gotten, and I said, do you have a coach? I've just passed 2 years on my fitness coach.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't need him to tell me what fucking macros to eat anymore, but I'm with him for the accountability. You know, that element of accountability. So it's that extra layer that you pay above.
Yeah.
I guess like and this is a really good conversation with people. So I think I asked this to Jack Hopkins. I know you've worked with Jack. Is like sometimes with offers, is an offer misleading? And his point sometimes was like, well, you have to be a dumbass to look at an offer and think it's going to happen without any effort and sacrifice. Like you have to realize that an offer comes with effort and sacrifice. And if we extrapolate that to content, it's like you need to even think about that more and more, because like this content is out of context. So therefore you can't assume it's the fucking blueprint, you know?
Yeah, dude.
It can help people, but it won't give them everything.
Exactly. Like a client just joined our program a few days ago, and he literally said to me on the first call that I had with him, he was like, I know what to do, but I'm just not sure about how and where and when to do it. And I just need you to kind of tell me.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, so that's kind of one element. You know, people know what to do, but they need someone who's actually been there and done it at a very high level to just fact check them and hold their hand and steer them in the right direction, to give them almost like just belief in themselves. You know, someone else said to me on our group call yesterday, he said to me, look, Will, I kind of knew I had to raise my price, but I didn't dare. But when you told me, I was like, fine, I will, because you know and I don't know. So I know what to do. But there's something else there. It's not the knowing, it's the... I'm not describing this very well.
You were.
Almost permission from someone who really knows what they're doing, because you kind of don't really know what you're doing yet.
Yeah.
So you doubt yourself a bit. You know what I mean?
So what's the concept of the wow, not how?
Wow, not how is basically, if you tell people how, right, like I just said, they'll try and do it, almost certainly fail, because it's out of context and they don't have you behind them. And then they'll blame you, and they'll be no better off anyway. They'll be worse off in many cases. Wow is this, right? Imagine we met in a coffee shop, and you were like, oh, Will, what do you do? And I'd basically say, well, I help people sell information, right? And if they have like a talent, to teach that to other people. If they have like specialist knowledge on dating or how to approach girls or stop drinking alcohol, right? I help them monetize that and sell it through like an online course or a coaching program or something like that. So you know what I do, but you have no idea how, right? Or you might say to me, well, like, how do they do that though? And I'd say, well, basically, there's 4 pillars. There's like traffic, so eyeballs, and they get people to know about them and what they do, number one. And then they send that into like a sales process where they add a bit of value and explain how it works. And then they get them on usually a sales call, and then we'll see if they're a good fit. And if they are, they'll tell them about the program and close them into the program, right? So again, now you kind of know what to do. Get traffic somehow, put them in a sales process, get them on a call and close them. But you still don't know how to build a funnel or what funnel, right? You have no idea about a sales script or handling objections or framing or anything, on and on and on. So you know what it is, but you don't know how to do it. It's like wow, but not how. That's the way I'd describe it. And that's how you should keep all your content. You know, I did a very tactical video recently about the last funnel, and I showed the funnel, showed all the steps, all the pages, all the numbers even for it. But I didn't show you how to write the copy for an opt-in or the copy for a VSL or give you the sales script or talk to you about pricing and deliverables. So even a tactical video.
So a strategy without the tactics. And that goes back to Expert Secrets, right? It's Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets.
Yeah, that's...
Which is like the vision versus the detail.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
And to be fair, that actually, apart from YouTube, you kind of can't teach the tactics in like a LinkedIn post or a tweet or even a 60-second video. You can to some degree, and I guess some people try to stuff it in. But like, again, you need to have your own discernment when you're looking at content to think like, okay, this is super helpful, Will's a G, but I need to obviously invest to be able to figure out this on a proper level, you know?
Exactly. This is something else that people don't think about as well. Newer people, when they learn, right, I've got to get traffic, they just try and do it. They'll do long form, they'll do short form, they'll do all the platforms, but they don't understand different platforms have different like theses but behind them. So for example, we don't make short form because we don't want to work with short form people. We only make long form because we only want to work with long form people. You know, we only use YouTube because number one, it compounds on itself, whereas no other social media platform does. But also, it's just like you can indoctrinate people so much easier and so much faster as well than Instagram Reels and stuff like that. So you've got to think long form, short form, the different platforms and where and why when it comes to your thing. It's a bit of a deep topic, but...
I agree, man, because like I haven't been able to crack Twitter. I tried it and I was like, oh fuck, I have so much things going on. YouTube for me is working, LinkedIn is working for the business, YouTube's working for the podcast. Why do we need to open it up? You know, and Instagram, using Instagram as well. But does that make sense? Like you don't need to go jumping at everything. It's almost like focusing on your zone of genius. If you like long form and you enjoy doing it, perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You made a good point about guys coming through and then paying for the accountability and whatnot. Something that I'm actually just struggling with, like at a personal level, is the difference between our done for you offer and done with you offer is that the done with you offer is not meant to be super one-to-one all the time, right? There's meant to be more of a group element. But I find myself, just my own personal attachment is that I actually want to be super close to every member at all time, which is obviously like not scalable. But I'm still able to do it, and it's still fine. But I guess for people like, how much touch points should you be having in a group coaching setting when you're trying to build like a group coaching program and build this up? Because there's no rule book, right?
There's no rule book. Yeah, you're completely right. And people, this is very common. Like people, dude. Like I had someone come to me recently, and they had a $99 a month school with a course inside it, and 2 or 3 group calls a week, and a 1-to-1 every 2 weeks for fucking $99
in total.
Why fucking bother?
Literally,
for that fucking price point. And yeah, I mean, he couldn't run ads because the price is too low, and you're struggling with traffic and stuff. I was like, dude, you're way over delivering, man. I mean, it's good for the customer, but the customers are ripping you off. Like, big
probably getting the wrong
time.
customers too.
And getting the wrong customers massively as well. So, this is kind of one thing that I've been thinking about recently is how much do I need to give people for them to succeed? And the best customers, the people, I mean, everybody's different. Some people do need more, some people do need less. Some people are more self-sustaining, some aren't. So it's a bit of a balance, but yeah, I think what we do is super dialed right now, man. What are your programs and prices?
So what we are done for you offer, that's like we do everything, run the podcast end to end. So that's like between 3 to 5K a month, and that's running well for the past 2 years.
Nice.
Piyush runs everything. I'm not even involved in the business anymore. And then the Done With You is a coaching program. So we started at 3K, one off, and it's a cohort. So it's 8 weeks. It runs in sprints. And then we have course material, like 6-7 hours of course material, very, very detailed on growing, managing, scaling your podcast and monetizing. And then weekly live calls from there. And then 3 1-to-1s with myself. But we're going to be doing a few master classes too, like getting in, people like Rob Lipset, all the kind of big kind of guys in the space. And we're going to increase it to 5K, take off the cohort, so leave it as an open-ended coaching program, and then bring the coaching calls down to 1 a month. 1-to-1. Keep obviously the weekly ones, sure. But so that's kind of where we're thinking of scaling up to, because it's growing, right? Similar to you, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger every day. And the systems are getting sharper, and the delivery is getting good, and so on and so forth. But my just kind of problem with that is like I'm still thinking in my head, how much should you be in Slack specifically solving problems? Because learning from experience, you made a great point in your book, which is, build a product that you want to build. I've been in a ton of programs, man, very expensive programs. You'd write a question in and no one would respond at all. And then it would go like 3-4 days. We just had a conversation this morning saying new SLA is every comment gets responded to within 2 hours. I was like, let's just set a standard. And if we don't know it, our team in East Coast will say, Darren will get back to you when he's awake in 4 hours time or whatever. So, but again, we're making this up, right?
Yeah, well, dude, this is the thing. I mean, we're all making it up. Like one of my favorite quotes, right, is there's no such thing as an adult. Like, no one really knows.
Yeah.
But you just kind of learn. And some people have just learned more and some people have just learned less, right? So I always think that there is no such thing as an adult. No one really knows what they're doing. You just learn along the way and dial it in for you. But if there's ever a concept that I really believe in, it's like, make what you would want.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I do. I just price it as I would want, make it as I would want. I think that works well. Point. And I think recurring high ticket is the one. Like, this is one big thing that I've learned that I don't think really people have caught onto yet. Like, recurring allows your best clients to stay much longer. So if you're selling like a 3K program for let's say 3 months or whatever, then it's just, there's an end to it. There's no, you're not really building it to continue.
Yep.
And when people stay longer, you can not only get a massive LTV for yourself to grow your business further, but you're just letting them give you more money if they want to, which has been a massive thing for us, man. And there's so much peace of mind when you go into a month and you've got like whatever it is, 230K due in before you've got new customers. And yet some of it's going to churn, of course, but it calms you down.
You sleep easy at night, man.
Yeah, you sleep easier. 'Cause I think I've been scarred from that last fucking business.
Bro, I learned from you about that because you said every month you'd go from zero, and I was in my head I was like, that's weird because like we only did recurring then, and it wasn't 400k a month, but it was 40, 50, and I'd wake up on 1st of January or 1st of February, and I wouldn't have any issues paying payroll, put it that way. But then I'd have the other curse, which is you get less people through the door. Like there's always an ebb and flow, right? And that's why it's like, is it agency? Is it info? Is it SaaS? There's an ebb and there's a negative and positive to everything. But what I love about the book and about what you guys are doing was that you get them in 8.5K, and then you have the back end software or maybe coaching or so on and so forth that can add the LTV. That's what most people aren't doing. They're selling the one thing, they burn the lead, they burn the customer, and they move on.
That is what most people are doing. And you've got to, again, we were saying this earlier, right? But there's different seasons. So there's a season where you need to make money, right? You know, when people get into business, it's usually to sort out their financial life, you know. So that's kind of one season. Then the next is when you've ticked the money box. There was this question that I once asked myself. So I went downstairs in the building in Dubai that I live in with my journal, and I asked myself this question: if I had $10 million in cash in the bank right now, and I could just do whatever I wanted, keep the business, turn it off, work or not work, travel, not travel, I could do fucking anything. What would I want to do with my days? You know, when the sitting on the beach wears off and the being bored wears off, what are you going to bloody do, man? You know? And my answer was, the thing that I wanted to do was just talk about business. That was basically the answer that I wrote. Just do and talk about business. Because this is like my favorite thing in the world. And that's an important question for people to think about, man, because that's usually what you should be doing. You know, you can't always go and do that straight away because you don't have that bloody money, unfortunately. But that's what you should be doing. So that just helps you realize where you should be going. Yeah. If that makes sense.
100%, man. Yeah, I like that. And I think it's interesting for you because you've had the cash, you've sold, you've had that feeling, the realization of selling, and you've had the opportunity to go again. So like you fill the money gap for sure, and then health, wealth, and relationships will always come back to get you, right?
Yeah.
you can't escape it. If your health's in shit, it's gonna chase you, right?
Yeah.
Man, there's a few points I want to pull out that really hit me hard. So I want to go into the sales process. So I think what's interesting about sales is that, you know, whether you identify that you're shit at sales or you think that you're okay, sometimes pinpointing why you're not good at something is difficult unless you're recording them and having maybe someone watch your sales videos, which I'm actually only doing recently. And something that I really liked was you mentioned around why now. So getting people to understand why now to act. And if I was to ever look back on my sales process and think why we're not closing, would probably be that element, not necessarily urgency, but just relevancy to act now. What do you think about that?
Well, I just love sales calls, man. I just love because I just love talking to people and learning about people, and like I can just sell with so much conviction when I know that it's right for them. And I love objection handling. I like pre-objection solving. Okay. One of my favorite things is when you remove an objection and then it's just, they almost don't, they can't not buy.
Yeah.
Like when you've removed all objections, they can't not buy because you've made them realize in their head, you know, why do you want to do this now though? Well, dude, if I don't do it now, then when am I going to do it? You know, I've waited all this time to do it and I still haven't done it. Why haven't you done it yet? Well, I just couldn't find the right program. Do you think this is the right program? Oh, 100%. I really believe. Right. So what you're saying is now is the time. Yeah. Yeah. This is the perfect program for you. Yeah. 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 And like you said earlier, you've got more than enough capital to afford it, right, as well. Yeah, yeah, sounds good. So now they can't say they can't afford it. They can't say they need to fucking think about it. You know, so the only option is to close.
It's funny, man. Do you think guys in your seat are not willing to push to say why now? Like why can't we look a bit deeper instead of I interviewed was it Michael Glover? Robert Glover recently, and he wrote about no more Mr. Nice Guy is the name of his book, and he said a big issue people have, especially guys, is around rejection, whether it's sales or women, is they don't want to be faced with the rejection. So let's say you have a connection, we talk well, and then I say, oh, do you want to buy my do you want to talk about my service? And instead of facing the rejection, we'd almost just say no and just cop out. Same with a girl, right? You talk to a girl, she gives you all the signals, you don't ask for the number though. And guys are more willing to accept defeat versus get rejected. And that could be a micro example of how it extrapolates up into men selling, right? Do you want to launch a podcast for your business, but you don't know where to start? Remove the stress, pressure, and all the overwhelm that comes with it by working with Podcast University. If you're an ambitious individual who wants to build your influence online, grow your own podcast, and also stand out from the crowd, Podcast University is for you. We help you with the strategy, equipment, the content, your guests, everything you need to create a top-tier podcast. If you want to learn more, check out Podcast University and start your podcast journey today.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, no one likes rejection, you know. We've all got kind of egos to some level. But I think that the thing that really makes you good at sales, it's intangible. It's not needing the sale, truly not needing the sale, right? And really believing that it's good for the person. You can't fake that. You can't buy that. You can't train that, you know. So if you need those things, you're in a much worse position. Like if you are like a broke closer and you're trying to make money, you need the sales and you really want the sales, you know. And you may also be selling an offer that you don't fully believe in, but you're just there to make money and get paid. And some people are in that season. I respect that season, man, because we've all got to pay our rent and eat food and pay for the car loan and blah, blah, blah. So I fully respect that situation. But good God, is it going to be much harder, man? Because you're not doing it with integrity, and it comes across. You can't fake real.
You can sense it.
Yeah.
You sense that anxiety.
You can't fake the realness, man. You're either, you know, you've got that energy or you haven't. Yeah.
Tell me about leaving the room to get a cup of coffee.
Oh, this works so well. It's just I almost didn't believe. I'll never forget the first time I ever did it. I just moved to Dubai. I was in this apartment. I was on a sales call back when I used to take sales calls, and I just needed a piss really bad. And we got to the close, and I just found a time, and he was like, "Oh yeah, just let me get my card or some shit." I was like, "Dude, you do that. I'm gonna nip to the bathroom," you know. So I honestly went to the bathroom. And I think I learned so much from that, because when I came back, the guy literally said to me, "Did you do that on purpose?" Because I was a bit scared about buying, but as soon as you were out of the room, I could think much clearer, and now I understand that I should buy. "Did you do that on purpose?" I was like, "No, I really didn't do that on purpose." You know, so then I learned, and then I tried it again, like not on purpose. And it's just a little hack, man, that works so well, just to give people space to think.
So when they say, "Let me think about it," you actually let them think about it. You get up and you walk out of the room.
Exactly. Yeah. But you've got to do it with confidence. You've got to literally say, "Dude, no problem at all. I tell you what, I've just got to make a quick coffee anyway, so let me leave that with you. I'll be back in 2 secs," and get up and go. You can't hesitate.
Love it.
And you've got to be ready to do it as well.
It's again, so this goes back to, you know, being comfortable in your skin, not needing the sale and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So if you have that conviction, you can get up and be like, "All right, I'll give you 2 minutes."
Yeah.
And the other thing that I really enjoyed was the fact you mentioned around the 70-year-old man curiosity.
Oh, that's...
Yeah. I love that, man. Just in being like, "Oh, like, why is it like this?" Right?
Yeah.
Oh, what made you think about that?
Well, again, seriously, the coffee thing was really real. Like, so I was literally, someone said that to me, and I just thought, well, right, literally, let me just go make a quick coffee and I'll just leave it with you for a minute. And I just happened to do it so naturally and so smoothly because it was real. And then again, I learned from it, because then when I came back, he had literally had time to think about it. He was still there. And then he just couldn't object. And then he bought. And I thought, wow, that worked well. I'm going to do that again. So all this shit just happens to me, and then if it works, I'm like, wow, I've just learned something there, and then I do it, and it really works. So that's that. And then the curiosity thing is just a good, calm way of getting everything that you need out of people for you and for them. Because sales calls, in my opinion, are just helping them make the best decision for them. And people are not good at making decisions. Because if they were, they'd be very successful. You know, because success is just good decisions in order over time. You know, so if you are not good at making decisions, you're going to make bad decisions and you're going to fuck up your life, basically, and wonder what happened. So it's our job to help them make good decisions when it's appropriate for them. And again, like I was saying a second ago, if you are attracting the right prospects to your offer and you know the right problems that you can and can't solve, then it's your duty to fully understand the person and help them just understand and see the value. And if you can really help them, you've got to really tell them and convey it. And doing that in the right way will raise your close rate dramatically, man. And that curiosity, just sit with it. Don't rush through it. You know, if someone gives you a shit answer, don't move forwards. Just chill and just go a little bit deeper with them. And just stroke your chin and just think. You know, sometimes I like to just go quiet and then, you know, just let people carry on talking and get, you know, and then they tell themselves, because when people are talking, they tell themselves. You know, so if you say, why now? You know, why not 6 months ago? Why not wait and do this in 6 months? Why now? Shut up and just let them think and let them talk. And if they give you a bad answer, just be like, and just wait, and then they'll tell you more. Just these little hacks, man.
It's like it's just subtle social cues. And I remember the first big client I ever closed. I remember distinctly because I fucked it up several times afterwards, which is funny. Hop on a call, asked them where their podcast and everything, and they went for like 28 minutes. And because my internet was kind of shaky, they just kept on going. And they were like, this is the problem, this is how we want to fix it, this is what we want to do, this is where we are. And they're like, yeah, so at the end, like, I think this is basically what you're doing, right? And this is exactly what we're doing. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And they spoke for 28 minutes of the 30 minutes. And at the very end, it was just like, okay. And it was the fact that they had opened the loops, closed the loops, opened the loops, created the questions, and so on and so forth. And because there was two of them, there was a manager and like a director. They were just discussing between each other to some degree. And I was just the person that solved the problem in the end. And that was over a year ago. Same client as with us to this today. It's just an interesting observation, right?
There are questions that you can ask where people will close themselves. One of my favorite questions to ask is, why can't you just do this on your own? And then people say, well, if I could do it on my fucking own, it'd be done already. you know, or like, well, I obviously I don't know how. That's why we're on this call. You know, it's a stupid question, but it's very powerful because they will sell themselves. You know, so they will say, well, dude, if I could do it on my own, it would be done. That's why I'm on this call. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So you're here because, yeah, I mean, you can't do this on your own. I mean, what else have you tried? Oh, well, I've tried this and I've tried this and I've tried that. Got it, man. So basically, I mean, it sounds like you really are stumped and it sounds like you really need help with this, right? Well, yeah, obviously. Right. So now they'll tell themselves, I'm here to buy, basically, because otherwise, what the fuck am I doing here? It sounds simple and almost stupid, but good God, is that a powerful question, man?
Well, a lot of life is making things as simple as possible, right? Reducing the friction in not overcomplicating things. Obviously, understanding all these things you need to do in the back end, your metrics and all these other elements. But it's interesting to observe this. Last thing I want to ask you about on the sales side, which was very new to me, was a temperature check.
Oh, dude, that is critical, man. You just can't not do that. Yeah, when we learned this in the last company, it really changed the game, because without the temp check, people have unanswered questions and objections, and you just go into the close, then they give you the questions and objections, you know. But if you say to them, you know, what is in the book, in the script, I can't remember it word for word by this stage, but basically, cool. So with everything that we've covered, you know, one thing that's really important to us is alignment, you know. So before we go any further, I just want to pause here and check that we are in alignment. So scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? You know, 0, look, thanks for the call, but this is just not for me. 10, dude, this sounds amazing, it sounds perfect, it's exactly what I need, I'm all in, let's go. Where are you on the scale? And they basically tell you how ready they are to buy. No, 9 or 10, they are ready to pay, man. 10, they are ready to pay immediately. 5, don't go anywhere near the close and the price, man, for God's sakes, because they're just going to object and leave. So it's your last chance to say, okay, 5 out of 10, well, I really appreciate you sharing that. What's stopping you from being like a 9 or a 10, if you don't mind me asking? And then you get the real stuff.
I wonder how much time do you put into following up with leads afterwards? I know you mentioned in the book that like you obviously do the follow up and so on and so forth, but are you going back to your CRM, or would you determine some of them as dead after a while? Because sometimes I feel like I'm investing time into leads that are effectively dead, but they're in the CRM, so you just keep batting them down on CRM. And I do have a lot of people who bought in 2023 that came in 2022 and 2024 who came in 2023. Now that does happen, but I do think that there has to be a trade-off sometimes, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you should absolutely follow up, but from my own experience, this is just my experience, if you can get people subscribed to your YouTube channel, that is your follow-up. You know, and people, when I used to take sales calls for this offer, right, because I've still got the tracking sheet, and my close rate on that tracking sheet, there's about 140, 50 calls on there, and right as of now, I'd closed about 61% of them, right? But the only reason that's that figure is because honestly about 12, 13, 14% of that is follow-ups coming in over time, right? So at the time, the close rate might have been whatever, like 45%, 50%, whatever. But it's really surprised me how many people have slowly come back and bought, but with no follow-up, right? Because they're seeing the YouTube videos, and it's literally just the YouTube videos and maybe a bit of my Instagram. So that is the follow-up. The content is the follow-up. Well, that's certainly been the case for me.
Are you familiar with Colin Yurkison?
No.
He was he actually helped Jack Hopkins with his personal brand years ago. Colin's based in Miami, big personal brand guy, and his approach to this is, let's say you're putting out all the content on YouTube or LinkedIn or Instagram, easier example, and a guy comes in and says, "Hey bro, like what's the program?" And you're like, "Oh, it's 8.5K and whatever," and he ghosts. Instead of you following up, you just get back to what you were doing, putting out the fucking content. Because that's, as you mentioned, that's the follow-up. And then every single day, he's seeing this guy hammering the feed, same messaging, same positioning, getting better, growing, seeing all the wins and improvements. And then the guy comes back down like 4 weeks later and buys because, you know, maybe in that instance, he just wasn't ready, or he was trying to figure things out or wait until he gets paid or whatever, which is why he DM'd you. So instead of putting the time into that, put the time into the content that was what drove people in the first place.
Without a doubt, yeah, because I mean, content brought them there. So it might not be the right time, but if you keep making that wow, not how content, keep stressing the problem, adding value as well, sharing testimonials with them. Testimonials carry a lot of weight, man. Testimonials really, really help. It's a matter of time. If they're meant to buy, they'll buy, given time. You know, and this is, I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, I think, when we were chatting outside, but we might have been earlier, but I think sales calls, people are getting wise to sales calls now. They kind of know what it is and how it works. So I think selling through a document in the DM is becoming more of a thing. It doesn't allow you to scale as far, that's a fact, but depending on the business that you're trying to build, that gets you good quality customers though, because they buy of their own free will. So they're 100% self-sold, basically. So you get almost no refunds, no chargebacks, no bad customers, no bad fits. Everyone's a joy to work with. You know, when they've come in 100% of their own decision. That's what I see. But equally, there's a lot of people that you do leave unclosed, that via a sales call could have been closed. But it's kind of, what do you want? Do you want to scale far, or do you just want to chill and like James Kemp style?
Yeah,
you know.
I get you. Well, it's funny you said that, because for our coaching program right now, 3K price point, I think about 60% of people who bought didn't take a call. They just bought straight.
Good sign.
From a webinar or from an email. You know, they just bought straight, and the other 40 then had it. So I think the reason I'm saying this is because I think that gives us a lot of merit to scale. Do you get me? There's a lot of good metrics there to be able to scale. And to be honest, a lot of this was very, it was curiosity driven. Actually, what happened was I got dengue fever. It's like malaria. And I was lying in bed like this for a week straight. Like, dengue is fucked up, man.
Damn, man.
And I couldn't even think. And then I was just messaging Piyush, and I was like, I think it's time to build a coaching program. It's only like a month ago. And I'm lying in my office on the bed. Bear in mind, there's a bed, and I have
Yeah.
the whiteboard, and I'm just writing on the whiteboard like maybe we'll do this. So I followed your approach. Was we sold it with nothing built, and then we
Good.
backfilled everything because it's all in the head. But it was 50 sales calls. What are you struggling with? I'm struggling with this. Okay, we can do that. I'm struggling with this. We can do this. And then we just built it out in here about a week or two ago.
So sick, man.
But I think it's just interesting because like that. But to be honest, have you ever read The Lean Startup by Eric Ries?
I actually haven't.
Sure.
No.
First ever book I ever read, like business book. I was given it in college. And the whole concept is you have a hypothesis, so you can help people build and exit their business. And then instead of building something, you put it out, you go speak to people, and you walk around the town, and then you build what they say or you change what they say, and you just build a solution. And and this book started in the early 2000s, and it was because all the San Francisco startups would be these nerds in MIT thinking, I'm going to build this supercomputer, would spend fucking 200 million building a computer that no one would ever use. So all these Silicon Valley startups were failing, and this guy just said, stop being such a fucking nerd, go outside and speak to people about the problems that you have, and then build a solution. And as a result, that started a whole new wave of startups, early 2000s.
Yeah, dude, I've just made a YouTube video about this. Saying it's called something like, "You don't start a business with a product, you start a business with a customer." And the whole point is basically like, back when I was a musician, when I was younger, right, I would basically make products, make tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd make the tracks, then be like, please like them, please play them, and just shove them in people's faces and hope for the best. But that's the right way to do it, that you've just said, where you go out, in business at least, and say, look, what is the problem? You have the sales calls, and just survey people and ask them what's their problem, what they pay to solve, blah, blah, blah. And then you just get the problem, then build the solution, and just fucking give it to them. And this happened with the trading education company because I had no want or desire or anything to build that education company. I was just trading and I had a Twitter, and someone asked me one day, can you please coach me? And I was like, dude, no problem. $50, come to my house. And then he made a Word document himself of his notes. I kept that and sold it to a few of the followers, or tried to sell it, and it did sell. So he made my product. He was my product market fit. He did all the work for me. And then I just took what worked for him and did it with other people, and that worked. Then they started saying, oh, Will, can we put images in there? What's this about? What broker do we use? And they just told me how to make the product. And then as they told me, I raised the price. And then eventually it went from a Word document to like more of an ebook thing, and then a Dropbox folder of videos. And I just kept listening to the feedback, making it better and better and better and better, raising the price. Then I learned the rest, and the rest is history, man. So that's how it's done. Yeah.
I love it, man. So something that I'm definitely struggling with myself is ads, the concept of ads. I think it's a limiting belief I have, which is like, and it's crazy because I'll hire people, but I wouldn't put the money in ads. I don't know. It's a limiting belief of mine. I don't know. I need to overcome that. And I think like I've focused so much on content. A lot of guys will focus on content because they're coming from their Hormozy style stuff where you just blast loads of content. And they're transitioning over to ads. When would you make that transition? When would you make that transition? Or would you ever go, now that you've done both, how do you think about the paid versus organic route?
Dude, you're asking me this at the exact right time because we've just finally turned on paid ads last Monday. Or not. Where are we now? Monday today?
God
what day
knows.
is it today? I don't even know what day
Doesn't
it is.
matter.
This is what happens in Bali. There are no days. It's just life. Right? In Bali.
I don't know what day it is, man.
It's
Tuesday.
Tuesday. We've had ads running for a week and a half, 2.5 weeks, something like that. Not very long, like 15, 20 days. And basically, so before ads, right, this year, if you average it out, we'd be doing about $280 a month cash collected.
Jesus Christ.
Or they're about 270, 80, 90 a month cash collected, about a 91% profit margin. YouTube and sales calls, that's it. Me, 2 sales reps, 1 virtual assistant. YouTube, sales calls, they buy one of the programs. But that's all we were doing. Now we've got the book though, right? I've done a book funnel. So I paid, do you know who Alan Sultanich is?
Yeah, I know the name.
Very famous copywriter. I paid him and his team to help me with my book funnel. Anyway, so we're running Facebook and Instagram ads to a long-form sales page, selling the $12.95 ebook with a $47 little bump for like a 1-hour training. essentially, behind the scenes training. And with those ads, depending on the week, we're just above or just below break even. And then all the sales calls are completely free.
I get you.
Right? Because
They're
we've
paying
paid for
it.
the customers, and then we get the customers to book sales calls for the coaching. And as of now, that's 12.1x cash at the moment. So for every dollar we spend on ads, we make about $12 back.
How do you
So-
calculate that? Like,
So the way we calculate it is, let's say we spend, simplest way to describe it, let's say we spend $100 on ads, we make about $100 back from the book, right? And let's say we bought 10 customers. Well, they're free customers, right? If one of them then buys a product for $1,200, we spent $100, someone buys something for $1,200, well, we're 12x, you know, 12x x ROI. And that's about where we are, just above 12x.
and that's an
cash.
info product they're buying,
Then they're buying the coaching.
which is info or personal to you.
So we've got 3 programs, $4,000 a month group coaching, $9,000 a month one-to-one coaching, $15,000 a month done for you
Built and released.
coaching. And it's basically just proximity to me. You know, group is a group call, one-to-one is anytime one-to-one, done for you is anytime one-to-one, and by WhatsApp and the training program and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's a mixture of that stuff in there. But basically my point is, ads are the only reason we made the money in the last company, because it was 95% paid ads, right? And basically ads fucking work. So just fucking run them, all right? Because basically they just fucking work.
They definitely work. It's just not knowing how to do them properly. Like you do them on YouTube, correct?
What now?
YouTube was your main focus for ads, right?
Oh yeah, back then it was all YouTube, 100% YouTube ads.
And now you're looking at Facebook and stuff like that. So and these are probably really stupid questions, but like,
Ask away.
and hopefully this is valuable for other people, right? Because like the problems that I face are problems that other people have, even though like I could be a lot further on or a lot further behind. But how do you segment, like where do you look for ads? Like what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make sure you're doing it on Facebook, Instagram? Is it going to be different? We talked about platform agnostic, right? How different platforms are. Do they show up differently? Or, you know, are these things that you were considering? Or are you just like, no, fuck it. This is the system. This is the process. I've seen it all from the book as well, right? In terms of the execution.
I think you're overcomplicating it.
100%.
You know, I mean, with the book funnel that I just told you about, basically we run, let's just keep it simple. We run Facebook ads, and they just basically aggravate pain or offer a solution. And they're like, basically, do you know how much money you can make selling info? If you've got a talent or a skill or specialist knowledge, you should be selling info. And if you don't know how, you should buy this book, basically. Click this ad and go and learn about the book. That's basically what the ads are, in different ways of saying that. That's it. And then people see that, and they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, wow, this sounds awesome. Click. and then they're on the sales page, and the sales page it's a fucking beast. You've got to see this bloody sales page, but it's a fucking huge sales page with everything you would ever need to know. Testimonials, proof, the problems, the solutions, the pains, the reasons to buy it, blah, 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 blah. Massive sales page. And then the whole idea is they read that, and it basically makes them want to buy, right? And then they buy. And then they can buy the 47 upsell if they want it. About 52% of people buy that, currently anyway. And then we just so happen at the moment to, again, just above or below break even on that front end. And then we're buying loads of, this is the thing, we're getting buyer leads, right? So they are the best leads you can possibly get because they've bought from us once or twice already. And hopefully they love the book and they love the rest of it. So they have a good experience. Then they like us and trust us. They see that we're the real deal. And then we just basically do everything in our power to get them on a sales call to buy the coaching if it's appropriate and if the time is right and if it's a good fit. So that's it. Just ads that aggravate the pain or offer the solution. Something here, usually a VSL, typically, or a long-form sales page, and then get them on a call and get them in the bloody program.
Yes, I think the problem I had in my head previously was the fact that for a done-for-you offer, there was like a ton of decision makers and we're selling to bigger enterprises, so it was harder to get to the champion, whereas for what we're doing in the coaching side of business, it's not complicated. Like it is very straightforward. It's, do you have a podcast that's struggling? Does it make no money? Is it slowing down? Is it not helping your business? Here's a solution. Here's what we can do. And then a lot of those guys will ascend. Like, you know, it wasn't really the intention, but a lot of people already want to ascend into the done for you offer, which is a retainer.
Yeah.
So it's basically just serving people at different price points, which is kind of why I'm really happy with what we're building right now, because it seems like before it was like you had to be such a high criteria. It was like $1 million plus company and had to have the budget.
You told me, yeah.
You know, and it was just so complicated. And there's still a lot of people like that in the world, but it's just so hard to get to them, right? Because it's just like it was just, even I'm fucking finding it hard to get to them. Whereas the other one, it's like an and if statement. It's just everybody else. So I think this can be helpful for people in their businesses because, you know, I've overcomplicated it. I'm trying to simplify a lot of this stuff right now, and I'm kind of working through that process. Yeah, man, it's interesting.
Yeah, ads are hard and sometimes impossible when you're in the nichest of niches. You know, if you're trying to sell to like bloody high-level CEOs that are behind 7 doors, ads almost certainly aren't going to work. You know, but if you were selling more like that offer, that's easy for ads, because the problem is so obvious. You know, do you have a podcast that is struggling or that's not doing what you want it to do or whatever? Well, we've got the solution, man. Click the ad and I'll tell you about it on the next page. You know, and then they land on the VSL. And then it's like, right, you know, this is probably your problem. If it is, this is our solution. You know, this is what we've done in the past. This is our reputation, blah, 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 blah. Book in a call and let's just discuss to see if it'd be a good fit. Get them on a call, get them closed if it's a good fit. You know,
cool, man.
It's really simple.
Yeah, it is.
It's really simple.
But you should really just simplify a lot of these things in general, as in, like, you know, even myself, just simplify the process down. First principles.
Dude, you know how I was saying earlier, like, I had a client come to me a few days ago and he was like, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. That's you. You know what to do, but you're not doing it.
But I also feel like sometimes that you get caught up doing other stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like we're so big on outreach, and that's been a blessing and a curse, I will say. Now, it's made me a lot of money, but it's a lot of work. And I'm good at it. I'm naturally good at it. And it's definitely a blessing and a curse, because I find it so hard to maintain, but I know that it works. This is a problem. You know, I can book a bunch of calls from it. I know it works, but it's just something that I think has almost given me like golden handcuffs, just because, like, you know, it works. I don't know. There's 2 different ways to do it, and then it's funny when I had sales reps as well. They're like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is complicated. Just because, like, you know, it's a curse of granted knowledge. What you know, and you're very good at explaining things, I know for sure. But I suppose if you were to do something for someone, you'd be like, oh, it's like this and this and this. Again, it's all the tangents, right? I don't know. I guess I enjoyed it to some degree. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm definitely opening up my time now to be able to put more time into these other levers to pull. And I have the cash as well. You know, when I was fucking starting out, I was kind of like, you know, but now, if of course this is like scalable, which I think it is the main thing.
This goes back to what we were saying earlier about when you're on a sales call, if you need the sale, it's harder.
Yeah.
Or when you're running ads, if that is your money to pay your rent and your bills and eat food, I do not suggest running ads. You know, if you can approach ads with like, let's just spend a couple grand and see what happens. Buy the data, let's see where the numbers are. You know, and then when you know the numbers, maybe there's a little bottleneck. It's like, okay, well, let's spend another 1 or 2 grand and try and fix the bottleneck. You've got to approach it with that kind of thing. Like, it's an investment.
Yeah.
And investments go down sometimes, don't always work out straight away. But Sabri Subi probably said this to you, but I truly believe, like, ads is the number 1 highest ROI thing that you could possibly do on earth. You know, no other investment vehicle can get you, you know, 1,000% ROI per month, cash, predictably, like a system. It's fucking crazy, man. Like, people, I seriously don't think people know how profitable ads can be.
I think one of your one of advantages too is your tracking. You're right. I think your data and your metrics are like super on point. How do you do that? And it's not, let's say it's automated. Like, how do you automate? Because you've done a lot of tracking and whatnot. Is this pulling from, I don't know, ClickFunnels? Is this pulling from Go High Level? Like, how do you think about data? Because for a lot of companies, even our company to some degree, we could get the numbers, but it would definitely involve more work to have them super fucking crystal 24/7.
would you do the work if you could quadruple your money every month?
For sure, yeah.
Well, fucking do the work then. No, seriously. Seriously, though. I was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but...
No, of course.
Like, I mean, dude, our tracking right now is basically Hyros to see
okay, yeah.
the buyer leads from the ads. And then when they book a call, we can see that in Hyros. So then we know which calls came from the Facebook ads. And then I just get my VA. We've just got a spreadsheet with a list of all the Facebook calls. And then we write, was it attended or no-show or cancelled or rescheduled? And then if they bought, and then we just got a list of the taken calls and all that stuff. So it's quite simple. It's what we're doing now is really quite simple, actually. The front end's a bit more heavy to track because we've got to track bloody the book sales, then the upsell sales, and the bloody clicks, and that's a bit more complicated than the call tracking.
Interesting.
But I like it. I feel like this sounds so gay, but I feel like it's like a little game. It's like a scientific little game. And when you win, you make fuck tons of money. So it's a really fun, I just love it, man. I just love all the numbers and seeing what affects it and how you can make more from it. And it's sick. I just love it.
So to confirm, you're kind of making your own dashboards, basically, like in
spreadsheets.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That was kind of more my question because that's what I observed myself. I remember I was doing like a lot of it manually, and I was thinking there must be an easier way just to automate it, but it actually wasn't. You could actually do it though through Calendly. You probably could, as in you could pull the values. You talk about the survey mathematics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Change the game.
Yeah. So funny enough, I actually was taught that as well from a way simpler example, which was just to rate the scores 1 to 4. 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 1 to 4.
Yeah.
So basically on a Calendly, having a bunch of questions. But I just think it's interesting because not a lot of people do that. I think you taught me about that initially, but most people don't do that at all. And then therefore they get a bunch of shit leads. So the reason I'm saying this is because I used to pack that up with questions on my Calendly, not book calls. And then I started to take out some of the more aggressive questions.
Yeah.
And then it balanced back out, which was nice. The biggest one I had, this is actually interesting observation. So for most marketing agencies, they'll have at the bottom, like, can you pay the $5,000 a month retainer if you're a good fit? I had that. I took that off and bookings tripled.
Yeah.
Swear to God, it was that.
Doesn't
it was
surprise
that.
me.
But I'd seen that so often.
Yeah.
That was the reason why I was like, oh, fuck, I'll include it. And then I swear to God, our booking rate went down loads as a result. Are you an entrepreneur who wants to build your influence and authority online? You may have tried some of the hacks and tricks, but none of it has worked. And it makes sense. 90% of podcasts don't make it to episode 3. Of the 10% that are left, 90% of them don't make it to episode 20. That's where Voix comes in. Voix creates, manages, and grows your podcast for you on your behalf. If you've not been getting leads, not been growing consistently, you haven't found your tribe, and you don't know what to do, Voix is the answer. Don't just take our word for it. In the past couple of years, we've managed over 35 podcasts. We've also been able to generate over 55 million views with 500 episodes produced. And not only that, generating over $1 million for our clients in products, services, and sponsorships. So if you want to learn more about how you can build a great podcast and have it fully managed for you, schedule a call with me at Voix and we will help you achieve your podcast goals.
You've got to test this stuff, man. You've got to put questions on, take questions off, just play with it. And it's just all like a scientific test. And I think it's fun because when you nail it, you make more money. It's quite rewarding to solve the puzzle. So friction is an important thing through a funnel. At first, you just want to book calls, man. Like we were saying earlier, just take any call, learn from the people, and just slowly add the friction in, depending on who you're getting.
What's your thoughts now on like the future of like the online education space? Do you think it's going to keep booming? Like, where do you think the online business space is going?
I think it's going to get a lot bigger, man. People don't really understand it yet. People don't really see how powerful it is and how it can seriously change people's lives. In a way that college, university, and school can't and don't. It's just because you're learning from true experts. Well, not always, but in many cases, you're learning from true experts directly, and it's just awesome, man. Yeah, I think this is emerging industry that will only get bigger and better over time. And I think we're starting to see the bad players get pushed out as people know what funnels are, they know what sales calls are.
I want to ask you about pricing. So one thing that I found very interesting was perceived value versus value. And this is definitely something that in my head I've struggled with over time, which is almost the concept of, in trading, you're giving people an opportunity to make more money, or financial advice or investing or the markets or a business, you're giving them the opportunity and the information to learn more. But there's some other things like a podcast, like taking photos of birds, like I don't even know, knitting maybe, that is much more value based. How do you think about the pricing for things that are a bit more obscure?
That's a good question. That's a good question, man. Well, when I think about pricing, I usually think of two things. So what's like the long-term value, and I try and quantify it. It's either money, in which case it's easy to quantify, or if it was like, say, knitting, the value is more, well, it's intangible, number one, but it's like, what would the value be of being surrounded by like-minded others who you can form friendships with and do your passion and your hobby with? It is valuable. So that's kind of one part of the equation. And then the other is, based on the avatar, how much can they even afford, though? Like, how much do they on average make? How much do they on average have in savings? And you kind of try and put the two together. You know, so the pictures of birds guy, it's kind of easy because people generally that take pictures of birds, they're older and they're quite wealthy, generally. And they've got a lot of time on their hands and they really love it. So they've got money, there is value there. Some of them want to do like the gallery shows and show their pictures off and stuff. So that kind of makes sense to be a 3K, 5K offer. You know, it's not sky high, it's not cheap, but to the right person, they will pay that. But you've got a price test as well, because no one really knows what's going to work until you take it to the market. So start at 3, try 4, try 5, try 6, you know, and you'll find one that works the best. You know?
Yeah, it's a very interesting observation because like there's some person, again, it goes back to the feedback you get, right? If you don't have to take skin in the game and someone's like, fucking hell, 4K for photos, you would think, oh my God, okay, let's go down to the $19 like the guy last time.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're like, okay, there is a lot of value here. We just need to be able to extract that value for the person and show them we can charge the 4K and we can provide a 4K service. It's an interesting observation, right? Because it's kind of like goes back to the entrepreneur as well. You made a good point about pricing is usually an insecurity of the entrepreneur.
Almost always. Almost always. Yeah, it's an interesting reflection of where people are at. And most people undercharge because they've got stuff to learn. I mean, we all start somewhere. You know, you start, you don't know. So it's better to charge low and learn and raise it than start too high and kind of mess up. So I always say to people all the time, it's like, look, I think it should be priced at about 5, but because you're brand new, I say just start at 2 and close a few people first, look after them, get them results, and they will, you know, there'll come a point where you're getting great testimonials, people are very happy, and you'll start to feel, oh, this is too cheap, man. That's the time. So you've got to do it with integrity. You know, so whilst price is made up, kind of is made up, it is, it is. You've got to be in alignment with it, or else you won't sell it well. You've got like a weird karmic kind of debt where you don't believe it's worth that, so you're scared to sell it, and that fear will come across, kind of thing. You know.
It's funny. Do you give any much thought about like the price sensitivity of the buyer? Because to me, 4K seems the same as 5K. You know, internally sometimes. Like I've bought 8K packages before that if it was 6, it wouldn't have made a difference. Just because I know it's a large amount of money that's coming out of my account.
Yeah, definitely.
Does that make sense? Because it's just kind of the same, but not the same. Because you have money set aside. It's not like daily expenditure money.
Yeah, well, you've got to think, you know, I mean, if we take our group program, it's £3,000. It's about $4,000. The only reason we even created that program was because back in last year, we only had the £7,000 one-to-one. And then one of my YouTube videos blew up. We got loads of newer people, loads of beginners. 7, it just wasn't right for them. It's too high. It wasn't a good fit. They weren't even ready for the one-to-one. And we were losing a lot of sales of people that we knew that we could help. So then we were like, right, well, what is high enough to stop anyone buying, but low enough You know, there's that sweet spot, and that sweet spot right now for us is £3,000 a month. You know, so beginners buy it regularly, but only serious beginners.
Because it's per month.
Yeah. To be honest, we've got people in there that are doing 40k a month, 70k a month. Cheap bastards. They should be in the one-to-one, really. Someone even said that on the group call yesterday. One guy, he's just done his first ever 6-figure cash month, and he was like, you know, I need to change program now and get in the one-to-one. But
it's the ascension model.
Well, yeah. And we do see people do that, like start up there and go down there, or start up there and go down there. But you just get it from yourself. You know, what kind of customers do you want? What can they afford? Where's the line where it stops anyone coming in and you only get the serious people? So, and it depends what you want as well. Because if I wanted to scale to the moon, I'd change my prices.
In what way?
I wouldn't do monthly, for one. I would do, you know, instead of 3k a month, I'd do like 8,000 for 3 or 4 months. Instead of 7k a month, I'd do like 25,000 for 3 or 4 months. So I'd do more programs paid up front rather than recurring. Because you'd make a hell of a lot more cash a lot faster. Therefore, you could spend more on ads and you could scale further and buy more customers. So if I wanted to scale really far, that's what I would do.
So is that the difference between a cohort and an open-ended coaching program?
It's kind of what do you want? I mean, do you want maximum upfront cash month 1? Or do you want the peace of mind of recurring? And to give your customers that trust? Because it's easier for people to buy when it's cheaper and monthly than it is higher in one time, number one. But then people can leave if it's not good. So it kind of puts a lot of trust in your customers, and your program's got to be good for them to stay and keep paying. But it's what do you want, you know?
There's no one way to do it.
There's no one way. There's no right answer. You know, for me, I just love coming into a month and having a big list of renewals, you know. And I look at the names and I'm like, oh, she's definitely going to renew, or this guy's crushing it, he's definitely going to renew. And you know you've got money coming in and you don't have to chase new customers.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have to be better to your customers because you want them to renew.
Of course.
And if they don't do well, you know they're not going to renew. So it's like a shared responsibility.
I didn't realize that those coaching programs were per month.
Per month?
Yeah, I didn't realize that. So that's kind of a unique mechanism on your side, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are kind of like one-off, or you pay for the year. Like I know some of the big sales programs, the guys I train, like very, very senior people, not beginning sales guys, senior guys, it could be like 27k for the year. And that's kind of it. And yeah, they might try to get you in the following year. But that's interesting. Yeah. So that's reoccurring on like Stripe, basically.
Yeah, it's just unended. And then when they want to leave, they just ask and we just pause it. Yeah. Basically. But it's good because you actually make way more. Yeah. You know, so in our $9,000 US program, the middle one, you know, if they really do well, they'll stay for months and months and months and months, and you make so much. You know, you can make 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. I think the longest anyone's ever stayed in that program is about 6 or 7 months. That's a big LTV, man, like 55, 60k cash.
So during that process, are people joining at different stages in the program and learning different material, or do you bring them through the same journey? Because if they're joining the sales calls, today we're talking about funnels, but then next week we're talking about something different. Does that mean people come in at different discrepancies?
Well, so in the group program, everyone's on a group call. In the one-to-one, it's with me anytime one-to-one calls. So they would just book in with me in a 45-minute slot, just me and them, and we work on whatever they need help with. You know, so that's why they go in that program, because it's tailored to you personally. In the group, we do get that. I mean, there's people on the group call that are doing 210 a month, 70 a month, 40 a month, 0 a month. You know, but it's really good for the new guys, because we had a couple of new guys on yesterday's call, and one of the first guys was like, yeah, I've just had my first ever 6-figure month. I joined at 20, I'm now touching on 115, and it blew their fucking mind. And they can see it's real, because those real guys are there on the call sharing the numbers and strategies and stuff. So if anything, it's better for the new guys, because they're in the room with sick people and they can really see what they're doing.
That's a value to the community too. Tom mentioned that to me, which was you'll be surprised how the guys will interact with one another, and they'll go off and form friendships and relationships and create content together, build businesses together. I didn't anticipate that. But that's something that's been quite interesting observation.
Yeah.
Especially for what you're doing, because it's guys that are literally making cash, and they're growing together. So whether they're young and coming at the same value too, right?
Yeah, that's the value of a community. But we don't have like a chat community, or we don't do support or anything. Just the group calls.
So no like Slack or anything.
No,
Interesting.
no, nothing.
Why is that?
Because it's fucking annoying. I just hate it, you know. And it's important to me that I love this business. So we've got. I've probably told you this before, but the mission statement behind this company: make money, have fun, and help people. Right. And when I'm doing those three things, I feel calm, I feel happy, I feel fulfilled, and I just know that I'm in a good spot. And when one of those is out of alignment, I just feel like something is not right, something's wrong. I'm doing something wrong. And if I had a Slack, that would not be good.
That's funny because some people might hate the one-to-ones.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So one of my friends who's an advisor to me, but I've actually helped him build a sales business, a sales coaching business. He was the opposite to me. So we have very little calls with our clients, just whenever they need it.
Yeah.
He was the opposite. 10 calls a day, all week. And he was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was like, dude, we need to find like a hybrid here. But it was just interesting because he was like, oh, I don't mind the calls. And I was like, if I didn't need to take them, I wouldn't take them because the US time zones, they're like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. some mornings. And that's every week, every day, you know? So I just think it's funny because you're natural. So what feels natural to you is being on one-to-one calls and strategizing, finding problems and so on and so forth. That could be someone else's hell.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's nice that you've built a business, or that you build a business that's in alignment with the world you want to see.
Dude, exactly. You know, an ideal business is the one that you design it to suit yourself. You know, if you don't like one-to-ones, man, like Dan Bolton, I don't think he does one-to-ones.
Really?
I think or maybe it's just one of his programs. It's like just Slack and a course, I think. I'm sure he said that. No calls. There might be one group call. And he was like, yeah, I don't like one-to-ones, so I don't do them. You know, I like Slack. And I was like, dude, I hate Slack, but I like the one-to-ones though. So you just do what you want to do, you know, and then you stay happy. And because you're happy, you do better work. And because you do better work, you make more money. And it is a nice flywheel when you design it in that way, you know. It's very important because I wasn't happy in the last business.
Why do you think that was?
Well, I had a massive team and I just hated the meetings, hated the calls. It was overwhelming, and I wasn't trading anymore at the end of the company, so I felt out of alignment and out of integrity with the customers and the product as well, which grinded on me more and more as time went on. Because
you were basically not doing what you were selling, I guess, because you were running the company, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm very conscious of that with my podcast, that we're now going to 8 a month. That's because good. I want to know what's happening in the market to be able to sell what's happening in the market.
If you want to stay ahead, that's what you've got to do, man. So yeah, massive team. Every month we started from 0, which was mad painful. And at our height, we were spending about $7,000 a day on ads. And dude, I was paying off the Amex every fucking 18 hours or something, for God's sake, or whatever. It was terrible, and it was just not the one, man. Didn't like the team, didn't like the customers, didn't like the niche, and when I didn't need the money, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing,
I was
right?
like, I'm out.
Fucking hell.
I only stayed in that company for the money. That was like my season of. Basically, that company was the make Will rich company. Basically, it was not. It didn't have. We did have a culture, and we did have values towards the end when we were making it more of a proper company. But it was just a bootstrapped cash flow monster, you know. And
afterwards, when you sold it to the private equity firm, like, what was the reaction within the team when you said, "Okay, we're going to sell"?
They were. Well, most of them knew.
Okay.
Because they had to know through due diligence.
Yeah.
Because through due diligence, they were being interviewed and customers were being interviewed and everyone knew that we were selling. And that was my favourite part of the business, was the friendship with the team, because they were basically all friends. And we'd have team holidays. We all knew each other very, very well. The sales team manager was my childhood best friend. So that helped. That really helped, man. You know, like we only ever had one team member quit, and every other person we ever hired never left, which is quite a cool thing to be able to say. So we were a good team, but it was too many to manage, and it was just a nightmare, man. Everyone in Slack, everyone in WhatsApp, all the meetings, just a mission, absolute mission.
Do you think you didn't have a system around how to manage it?
We did, and it was solid, but it was just overwhelming. And I was just always conscious of, like, I'm responsible for so many people. And I just didn't like it. I just didn't like having a big team, man. You know, basically, all the things I didn't like there, I'm doing the complete opposite now.
Yeah.
Massive team, tiny team. All paid ads, all organic. 32% margin, 91% margin. You know, not fun, very fun. Not long term, very long term. So I've learned a lot. I needed that business to make this one good. I couldn't have made this one at all without that one, though.
Of course, right.
So,
You learn from the fire.
you learn from the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when we just built the next offer that we've done, it was so easy to build because we'd spent 2 years building a business, right? So it's just like, this is what it looks like. This is how we get customers. We just send them messages and they just show up on the calls. Whereas when you're younger, it's like, as in, it seems like from hearing from you, it's like much more out of scarcity because you didn't know like how to run the ads. You're figuring it out. But then when you cracked it, now it's like, okay. And that's how this stuff compounds over generations, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, to be honest, all the stars aligned in that last company. We had an amazing offer, a great timing within the market. I learned from some of the best people, you know, with like Alex Becker, Sam Ovens, Cole Gordon, Alan Sultanich, and just all the stars aligned. That's how we were able to scale so bloody far. People can't believe how far we scaled, man, even to this day. But you never know what's going on behind the scenes.
For sure.
You know.
Do you think that's the case with a lot of the big guys online now? If you looked at like Iman, a few other guys that, like, you know, they're huge.
Well,
huge teams.
It's huge operations, man.
Huge operations, yeah.
It's huge operations. But I mean, I know a lot of people's numbers, man, so I get to see what's working and what's not. And people can never believe some of the numbers, man. You know, usually people are either doing way smaller numbers than you think or way bigger numbers than you think. That's always the case. You can never guess it correctly, man.
Do you know Matt Kelly from Space Goods?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I love Matt.
He's a legend, that guy.
He was here now. We recorded 2 podcasts, one in person that was here. And, you know, they're doing like about $1 million a month now, roughly. Yeah. Really healthy margins and everything. And he was saying that, you know, they're looking at some of the huge companies, like Holland and Barrett and all these companies that have like 1% margin. And the reason why they have 1% is because they've obviously like raised so much capital and stuff. But it's almost guys that are at 0 a month don't realize that like sometimes like those businesses are at that scale. Whereas what's funny is some of these info product companies are doing such small numbers or tiny margins. Whereas like they have very unhealthy businesses, which you talk about in the book too, right?
Definitely.
Effectiveness of scaling effectively.
Yeah, well, dude, I said this to Tom earlier. Like, for me to make 200K in net in a month in the last business, we had to make like 800K cash. But for me to make 200 now, we've got to make 220 cash. So the difference in margin, it makes things so much easier. But it's like, this is kind of a lifestyle business in a way.
You're not going to sell it.
I do want to sell it in the future, not for a few years. We've got a software now, so I want to sell it with the software.
You're building a software?
Well, it's a Go High Level white label.
Okay.
But you can sell Go High Label white labels.
Interesting.
By the way, but nonetheless. Yeah, I do want to try and sell it. Whether I will or not, I don't know. But I'm going to bloody try. So.
Interesting. Last question for you. So the first thing when I saw the book, I saw the how-to : Does that mean there's going to be follow-ups?
Yeah.
I know the first thing I thought about, man. The first thing that came into my head. What's your like thinking?
Well, the next one will be not how to 10 million, but how to 100 million. I don't know how long that's going to take, but we'll get there. And hopefully maybe how to 1 billion one day.
You think you want to become a billionaire?
I do want to become a billionaire. I've got a plan to become a billionaire.
You think you'd do the sacrifices to become a billionaire?
I don't know.
Do you think there is more sacrifices or it's just operating at a better level?
Operating at a better level. I think you can do it in ways that are less hard. You can do it in ways that are more hard. Just like making 100K a month.
Do you know Serge Guattari?
Oh, I've heard of him.
From Montreal, originally from Rwanda, At 24, drives the Porsche. Awesome dude, man. Interviewed him last week, and they're doing like 600K a month. He's 24, 25, and he does build and release. So they kind of something similar to yourself. It's like 35K, 40K up front, and they'll come in and build your sales infrastructure, build ops, build your HR infrastructure, and release it into the company, and then take like a rev share on the back end. And that's basically what his approach is like, instead of playing the smaller level trying to get like a client, he's looking for like the really big plays. And he's finding them. He's finding a few big plays a month. He's adding it in, and then they're doing crazy numbers, dude.
That's the way.
Now he has and what's interesting here is actually funny. So he's kind of sounds like similar to you in your first business. He's trying to go really big. So now he's hired like a leadership team, very high level, very high quality people. So he's ranking up his payroll, but he's doing it to be able to get to like 2, 3, 4 million a month. So he'd be a good guy to have a conversation with. Awesome dude, super cool dude, man. I had a podcast remote, and he's like super young, this huge penthouse in Montreal, and he had all the cameras set up, and I was just like, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning for him, and he was like, "What's up?"
Bad man.
He's a cool dude. He's a cool dude, man.
You've got to play at a different level, man. You've got to play at a different level, but for me, it's just a case of learning, and just thinking, and just putting it all together. But I truly believe that anything is possible, man. You know, I truly believe that anyone can achieve anything. If you just learn what you've got to learn and do the steps, and if you can handle it.
Do you think you have a software company in you? Do you think you have a software company in you? I mean, like, real scrappy startup. Do you think you'd want to do something like that? As in, that's what would be your billion exit, you know?
Oh, no, I'm getting old, man.
But they're, like, I have so much PTSD from that world. Like, it's, like, raising capital, building product market fit, scaling, like that aggressive VC approach. That's where I came from. You know, all my background was in those companies. Small scale ups. I joined, and brutal. Like, honest God, like the worst culture ever. Like that Silicon Valley startup approach.
Yeah.
That's how I started my career at 19. And like even the first company I joined when I was 19 had raised around 5 million. All we were trying to do was just not run out of money and reach product market fit, build. Engineers working 16 and 17 hours a day because you're trying to get the product out, to get it out, to try to get cash flow in without liquidating the company further. It just takes a different entrepreneur, someone who's basically willing to lose it all for the hope of winning it all, because you're only doing it for the hope of winning it. Like, you know this story with Loom, when Loom sold?
No.
Loom sold, I think it was Loom. Or was it Figma? I think it was Loom. I could be wrong on this. The guys had suicide letters beforehand, and they eventually sold for like 970 million. I'll find the actual company. But they had diluted so much because they were trying to stay cash flow positive. Well, no, sorry, they weren't trying to cash flow positive. They were trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
They came down to owning like 0.5%. They sold the business and ended up with fuck all. Like, and then after tax, ended up with even less. Bro, it's a brutal game.
Dude, I saw Matt Kelly tweet something recently, and he said, I can't remember it word for word, but he basically said, like, sometimes I feel stupid for playing this game when I'm watching the course sellers just print 100, 200 or 300K a month cash and be so much more chilled and happy. And I was like, that's me. and I'm very happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's true, you know. And part of me thought, but it's for the bigger exit, isn't it? I mean, these guys are going for the big exit.
Yeah.
And that will be the day when they're very happy, you know. But I think they're unhappy until that day.
I thought to Matt about this. I was like, do you think the exit make you happy? Because he was just here in Bali, he was working from his laptop, whatever. And he works a lot, obviously. But I was like, I said it to him, I was like, you don't want the money though. You actually like the game. And then he recognized it, and he was like, yeah, like I love to build. He's like an artist, he's a designer. And I was like, trust me, you'll sell this company and you'll be on fucking Photoshop the next day making a new logo. Because that's his design. He's a visual guy. They've never had a designer. He's done all the artwork himself. I was like, dude, that's where your brain is. So for you, lean into it. Don't kill yourself in the process, but lean into that versus like I'm. What I said to him was, I said, do you think you're a failure until you sell? And he said, yes, I think I'm a failure until I'm a success. And I was like, it's a broken model. I was like, that means you're always going to live in like scarcity, because his other like friends have done like, and like this is just paraphrasing, but
Yeah.
the idea was just that until you get to that point, you're a failure at a subconscious level. And I was like, dude, we're all fucked if we think like that.
Yeah. He is a brand guy, that guy. I think he's born to run proper good brands.
Yeah.
He's not a cash flow course coaching guy, in my opinion.
For sure.
He's an artist, he's a designer, he thinks long term, he wants these big exits, he's a builder.
Yeah.
You know, because I think of my number one favourite thing in the world is just to build things.
Same.
Build logos, build music, build graffiti magazines, build coaching businesses, build whatever. And he's a natural builder. We're all natural builders, aren't we? Because if we weren't, we would get enough money and leave and stop.
100%. And coming from that salary world, man, I can tell you that's not where we belong, you know.
Thank God.
Now, I'll leave you at that. That was a heavy 2 hours. And I said, thank you, sir. I appreciate everything you always do. And yeah, man, I'm just going to continue watching you smash it.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. That flew by. Very, very, very fun.